Controversy, as they say, sells. But it's just as damning to a sport as the popularity it brings. And considering the length of F1's existence, one could make a whole documentary on the scandals that have plagued the prestigious competition over the years. These are the top 10 controversies in Formula 1 history. Number 10. Senna vs Prost at Suzuka 1990. Coming in at number 10 is one of the greatest rivalries in the history of Formula 1, Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. Before the 1990 Japanese Grand Prix, things were already getting heated between Ayrton and Prost, who were both teammates for Mclaren, and it got even worse at the penultimate race in the 1989 championship. Ayrton and Prost were both fighting for the title with the whole world watching with their breaths in their mouths. Then, suddenly, the whole world stood still as desperate Senna, determined to win at all costs, made his move and dived down the inside of Prost through the chicane. Senna was disqualified and suspended for 6 months while Prost went on to win the 1989 championship. Prost left for Ferrari the following year, citing that Honda and McLaren viewed Senna as the future of the team and as such treated him unfairly. Fast forward to 1990, the pair who are no longer teammates met again and were both close for the title race. Ayrton Senna initially qualified on the pole, but was infuriated to learn that the pole was situated on the dirty inside of the track. He protested to the Japanese stewards, asking for a change of the position of the pole to the cleaner left side of the track. The FIA agreed, only for a ruling by FISA President Jean-Marie Balestre to dismiss the ruling. An angry Senna vowed that if Prost entered the first corner first, he would crash into Prost's car. He later got his revenge for the 1989 collision when he crashed into the back of Prost's Ferrari. The crash made Senna win the Drivers' Championship, as Prost could not overtake his point tally with one race left in the season. Prost was mad about Senna's statement afterwards, after he claimed that it was not how he wanted it, but how it had to be, and described Ayrton Senna as a man without value. What many people don't know is that a young Schumacher was watching and learning the dark arts of racing from the masters of it. He too would make the same move a few years later. Number 9. 1997 European Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher is arguably one of the greatest drivers Formula 1 has ever seen, but he's also no stranger to controversies. In the final round of the 1997 season, the German needed to beat Jacques Villeneuve to clinch the title, and to do this, the German did it in some rather controversial manner. Schumacher led Jacques for 48 laps before the Canadian made his move to overtake Schumacher at the sharp right-handed dry sack corner, and was ahead when Schumacher turned in on him, resulting in a collision with his front right wheel and Villeneuve's side pod. Schumacher retired on the spot, while Villeneuve carried on driving slowly as he crossed the line in third position, which was enough to win the title ahead of Michael Schumacher by just 3 points. The German was heavily criticised and was later penalised by the FIA, who stripped him of his position in the 1997 standing. However, the German was allowed to keep all his race victories. Number 8. Crashgate at the Singapore Grand Prix 2008. Crashgate, as it's popularly called, refers to the intentional crashing of a car in the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix. As the name suggests, Renault's Nelson Piquet Jr. deliberately crashed his car into the barrier during the Singapore Grand Prix, in order to bring out a safety car that would give Renault a huge advantage throughout the rest of the race. The plan was devised by Flavio Briatore and Pat Symonds at Renault, and was executed by Fernando Alonso's teammate Nelson Piquet Jr. After the safety car was brought out, Alonso went on to win the race. The secret consequently got out after Piquet was sacked in 2009 for poor performances, and his father Nelson Piquet, a 3-time world champion, disclosed the incident to the public. Briatore was handed a life ban by F1, and Symonds was banned for 5 years. Briatore's ban was eventually revoked in 2013, while Symonds' ban was reduced to 3 years. Number 7. The San Marino GP 1982. The San Marino Grand Prix had a lot of controversies, ranging from Williams, Brabham, Lotus and McLaren's disqualification for using large water tanks to make their cars heavier in order to meet the minimum weight requirements before and after the race, while keeping them under the weight limit during the Grand Prix. The Formula 1 Constructors Association, FOCA, protested and boycotted the 1982 San Marino Grand Prix, leaving only the Fédération Internationale de Sport Automobile, or FISA, aligned teams, which were a total of 14 cars to compete. However, the boycott wasn't the biggest controversy in the Grand Prix. The biggest scandal was between Ferrari teammates Gilles Villeneuve and Didier Pironi. Following Renault's car failure, Ferrari was left to occupy the top two positions, while the third-place car was far behind. Ferrari ordered their drivers to slow down, and while Villeneuve thought the order meant that they should maintain their position on the track, Pironi, on the other hand, thought it meant that they were free to race and passed Villeneuve. Villeneuve later repassed his teammates, but at the last lap, Pironi passed him to win the race. At the end of the race, Gilles Villeneuve was so enraged that he vowed never to speak to Didier Pironi again. Number 6. The 1994 Grand Prix. The entire 1994 season was plagued with several controversies and tragedies. In the opening race in Brazil, Ayrton Senna, who closely followed by Benetton's Michael Schumacher, was left in the pits after their pit stop by the German, causing speculations that Benetton was using an illegal fuel filler. Things took an ugly turn when Jos Verstappen's car caught fire while refueling, causing minor burns to his hands. The FIA investigated the incident and found out that the valve caught fire because a fuel filter had been removed. And removing the fuel filter allowed Benetton to refill cars 12.5% faster, saving the team roughly 1 second per pit stop. Another tragic incident also occurred in the third race of the season, when three-time world champion Ayrton Senna and Austrian driver Roland Ratzenberger were killed in separate incidents. However, the biggest controversy of the 1994 season was at the final race at the Australian Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill were separated by just a point. Therefore, the winner of the championship will be determined by whoever finishes the race ahead. Michael Schumacher took the lead from the start until the 36th lap, when Schumacher went off the track and hit a wall. Then he pulled back onto the track. Unknown to Damon Hill, who was following, Schumacher closely collided with him, and as a result, both drivers had to retire from the race due to the damage to their cars. Since none of them finished the race, Michael Schumacher won the championship. Number 5. Spygate/Stephanie Gate. This is arguably the most controversial off-track controversy in Formula 1 history. Ferrari, driven by Kimi Raikkonen, and McLaren, driven by the reigning world champion Fernando Alonso, and young rookie Lewis Hamilton were head-to-head in the 2007 season, and as such needed an advantage over one another. McLaren engineer Mike Coughlin was later caught with plans of the Ferrari's 2007 car, which he'd been given by Ferrari's chief mechanic Nigel Stefani, who was displeased with Ferrari at the time. McLaren was fined $100 million and was consequently disqualified from the 2007 Constructors' Championship. Both Stefani and Coughlin were sacked. Number 4. 1985 South African Grand Prix. With South Africa undergoing racial segregation at the time, there was an increasing pressure on Formula 1 to cancel the 1985 Johannesburg Grand Prix, but they continued with the tournament. This tarnished their image and promoted Ligier and Renault to boycott the race, while popular brands like Marlboro and Beatrice Food ordered their teams to remove their branding for the cars in protest. Fédération Internationale de Sport Automobile, or FISA president Jean-Marie Balestre, at the time announced days after the race that the Grand Prix would not return to South Africa until after the apartheid. And it didn't return until 1992, when racial segregation in South Africa was stopped. Number 3. The 2002 Austrian Grand Prix. In the 2002 Austrian Grand Prix, Brazilian Rubens Barrichello, who'd not won a race since the 2000 season, was leading Michael Schumacher, who had won 4 of the first 5 races, and was leading the F1 World Drivers' Championship standing comfortably. Barrichello was ordered by Ferrari team principal Jean Todt to yield to Michael Schumacher. He was initially adamant, but was threatened to be sacked before annoyingly yielded. Barrichello was later urged by Schumacher to mount the race winner stand at the post-race podium ceremony. Ferrari's action prompted the FIA to ban the practice of team orders at the beginning of the next season. Number 2. The 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. This had to be there, didn't it? The 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix saw Max Verstappen overtake Lewis Hamilton to win the championship, but not without a lot of controversy surrounding it. Hamilton started the race with a lead over Verstappen and was on course to a comfortable win after 52 of 58 laps until Nicholas Latifi crashed, which forced a safety car onto the track and consequently forced Hamilton to slow down, allowing Verstappen to change for fresh tyres and close down on Hamilton. And with a lap left, it got more controversial in the sense that FIA director Michael Massey called the safety car to the pits earlier than the rules permitted. This allowed the lapped cars between the title rivals through, leaving Hamilton and Verstappen within touching distance, and eventually allowed Verstappen to win due to his fresh tyres. And number 1, the 1982 driver strike. And topping the list for today is the 1982 strike by Formula 1 drivers. In the early years of Formula 1, the drivers had little or no power over how they were treated. But the 1982 season changed that, because that was when it improved drivers' influence on how they will be treated in the coming years. At the beginning of the South African Grand Prix in 1982, FISA wanted to give teams control over their drivers' contracts, which meant that the drivers would no longer be able to negotiate a better deal elsewhere. It also meant that they wouldn't have a say on how they were traded among teams. On seeing the terms after their arrival on South Africa's Kyalami track, they were visibly angry about the proposal and went on strike ahead of the race. The strike was later cut short after the Court of Arbitration of Sport ensured they would not have to sign FISA's new terms. With that, we've come to the end of our picks for the 10 biggest controversies in F1 history. Which one do you find most controversial? Do you think one controversial incident should have been included? Let us know in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, the next video on your screen is worth your time.